Okay, folks, welcome back to another fantastic edition of Opali Presents Know Your Pros. Today's guest, we have Heather Swearengin of Lead the Way Fitness in Rancho, Cucamonga, and she is a designer of healthy lifestyles. She says that she takes people from beginner to strong. Lead the Way Fitness, though, is for you if you're looking to make a lifestyle change and get long-lasting results on your fitness journey. Heather, it is such a pleasure to have you here today.
Thank you so much for having me, Henry. It's great to have this conversation with you. Thank you for inviting me.
Well, Heather, I'm stoked. I when I first got you on the phone, I could sense the enthusiasm in your voice. And we talked before we started shooting about how you're kind of the chief evangelist of things over at Lead the Way. And I really get that sense from the conversation we had before we started. So tell me a little bit about the journey that led you into Lead the Way, why you do what you do, and sort of what got you to the space that you're in now.
Yeah, so let me pull it back a little bit. So, my history to begin, I used to weigh over 230 pounds. So, I was not always athletic and fit. A lot of times, fitness coaches, they were in sports and they were younger. And so, there's that common, they were already fit to begin with. So, I'm really good at relating with people and knowing how tough change can be. So, I had to start with, working through the changes I needed to make. I had done yo-yo dieting, fad dieting, crash dieting, and none of it worked because diets are always a temporary thing.
Right.
And so the changing moment for me was when I realized that I didn't have to have a family with the income or good genetics to be an athlete because I had always wanted to be an athlete growing up. And so I decided to figure out, okay, what would an athlete have to do if they had to build themselves from the ground up to get where they are, at their peak. And so I went through that journey. I lost 65 pounds in 7 months. And then from there, I had to learn how to build up strength, build up muscle, improve my nutrition. And I was really good at it. And so now I can deadlift about 285 pounds. I squat 260. I bench press 135. And so I can definitely say with certain, I am an athlete, even if I'm not a professional athlete. And so pandemic hit. I, at the time, was still doing a lot of self-studying and working with small, like just a few clients at a time. And then after the pandemic, I started looking for a new gym job. I stumbled across Lead the Way Fitness. It was a miracle because it's around the corner from me. So it was just a perfect fit because I didn't have to travel very far. But my first conversation with Dustin Bogle, the CEO, it was a perfect chemistry of just his leadership and what I was looking for in leadership at a gym. And so I got the job. I have so much love for the clients because they are all there because they want to see themselves get strong. They want to see their own potential, and I want to help bring it out of them. And so I love my gym so much that I even hired the head coach at our other location in Monrovia to work with. He's helped me get super strong, break a bunch of issues I used to have. Like I used to be addicted to caffeine. I now stopped drinking coffee after a certain point. So all of the coaches are so well equipped to handle anyone's problems. And I am just so blessed to get to be a part of that.
That's incredible. And we talked before we got started a lot about being ready for something like this. Being ready to walk in and take that first step or make up in your own mind that you are going to go and make a positive change for yourself. You talked about like the good genetics sort of thing in your answer just now. And it's sort of like a catch-22 for people who like aren't quite there, haven't taken that next step, where you think, oh man, like this guy, it's sort of like I don't know, thinking of your grandparents, like, oh, they've always been old since the minute I met them. That must have be how they've been their entire lives. It's almost the same thing with folks who are, trainers at the gym. Like, oh, they must have always been this way. They must have always been just like totally shredded, and that's how they came out. But no, I mean, it's work that they decided and actively chose to put effort into. And I hear that in a lot of your answer here. I mean, I always ask my second question, like, why this industry? Why in the industry of fitness? And you gave a really good answer just a minute ago. I mean, obviously, you see it make an impact and an incredible change for the folks who come into your locations. So can you expand on that just a little bit? Like, in terms of that change and what you deliver to people. This will roll perfectly into our last question, but I want to kind of hear it from you.
Yeah. So one of my favorite things to do is to help demystify a lot of the kind of problematic information that tends to be circulated through social media and just media in general. Um, and I think one of those common things is that you just diet and that's it. You lose the weight, and then now you are just eating less, and you have to commit to eating less. If you eat any more, you're going to gain the weight back, and that is a common issue, and that happens. If people diet, they lose some weight, but then as soon as the diet's over, they end up gaining the weight back. And so there is actually a process that most people neglect, and it's actually the plan after the diet, the post diet plan, to help you to slowly build your calories back up to your new maintenance. So you're actually eating an appropriate amount of food and not just keeping your calories super low. That way you start to build a sustainable lifestyle around the lower weight that you're trying to sustain. And so I had to go through that process myself with my coach because I was severely under eating after I had gone through the process of losing 65 pounds. It was affecting my hormones. It was affecting my sleep. I had no enthusiasm for training. I was still kind of like skinny fat because I wasn't putting on muscle because I wasn't giving my body a lot of fuel. And so I was just constantly trying to do the same thing, expecting different
Right.
results. And so I help people to get through that plateau because I know exactly what that plateau is like and I know what it feels like. And so I help people to have the appropriate plan to make adjustments so they can get out of that and actually sustain the results that they get.
Yeah, and I mean, like, so I think that's so incredibly important. You talked about like what the difference was at Lead the Way, and we'll get into this more in just a minute here. But like, having that like coach, that individual that's right next to you, pushing you to like reach just that much further, or hold that effort, or yeah, that move or that effort, a couple seconds more, is really incredibly impactful. And there's so much out there by way of social media or the fad influencers who are going to tell you a specific way that you're going to do this or that. There's so much noise, right? And there's really no engagement. There's no personality there. And I see that is really what you guys offer. As a guy who's like tried and done the handful of Peloton classes that I've ever taken, we've got a relationship with these coaches on the other side of the screen, but there's really nothing more than just kind of like somebody yelling at you to push a little bit further. There's no personal connection. There's no human connection. So do you feel like that's what Lead the Way kind of really brings to the table? You guys put into place these long-standing executable plans for the people who come your way.
Yeah, absolutely. So with our semi-private coaching, that's where we get the more individualized plans. We're
Mm-hmm.
helping people through a program from week 1 to week 20 or however long their plan is. And then step by step, we're individualizing it. We're doing check-ins. That way we can ask what's working, what's not working, and we try to find a middle ground. So it's not us telling you what to do. It's we're working together to actually figure out what's going to work for you, what fills up your cup, what makes you happy, what helps you to not feel deprived. And I think the best part is when it comes to like working out is we're the ones who are going to notice that you're getting stronger because we're paying attention. We're noticing that, oh, hey, you increased your weight here. And so often the number one thing I hear from people is, Heather, you have more faith in me than I do. And I'm like, that's all you need. Because I've been doing this long enough. I already know you're safe because your form is perfect. I already know what you're capable of because I've been tracking it. And I know you can do it, and we have to just test it every once in a while just to see if we can push a little bit further in progress.
Right.
And just seeing the smiles on people's face when they see what they're capable of, it's amazing. So helping
Oh,
people, I love to see the potential in people, and that's what all the coaches at our gym love too.
oh, okay. That's perfect. That's fantastic. That's exactly why we shoot this show because, like I said, again, before we started shooting, I mean, like this journey is intimate. It's a tough thing for people to get their minds over. And if they've got somebody on the other side of that room or just across that piece of equipment like Heather, then, you can achieve that much more. And it's not any more clear than it is to me right now. I think you guys do some fantastic work.
Thank you.
So Heather, before we kind of wrap up here, I want you to point our viewers, anybody who might be out there getting curious about Lead the Way Fitness in the right location, where can they engage with you? How can they get in touch with you guys? Give us that lowdown.
Yeah, so they can access leadthewayfit.com for all of our information for Rancho Cucamonga and Monrovia. For Rancho Cucamonga, which is the gym that I coach at, the phone number is 909-294-2270. But if you want to get a hold of me and follow me on Instagram, I do like to post tips and tricks and exercises and motivational pep talks all the time. And that's at coach.swear for Instagram. And coachswear.com is where you can find all of my social media links.
Beautiful, beautiful. And of course, folks, we're going to put all of this into the description of the video so you can click on everything that Heather's associated with. Finally, the Way Fitness, whether you're in Monrovia or Rancho Cucamonga, I'd recommend you visit Rancho Cucamonga, though, because that's where you'll find Heather. And that's where you can get a peek at who this pro is here on Know Your Pros. Again, Heather, thank you so much for stopping by.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, Henry.
Know Your Pros!